Hello, it's week 3 of documenting the challenge of becoming better. And I really look forward to making these because not only am I forcing myself to be really honest about what I've actually gotten done, am I getting closer to the goals that I've set for myself? What are some things that I should do less of poor habits that I'm continuously pitfalling into? How can I better optimize my time? Um, and if I am spending a lot of time, how can I make it more efficient? So this week, got some good feedback from my manager. There's I need to improve on critical thinking skills and being able to demonstrate my knowledge because I absorb information quite well, but the retention sometimes is not there, or translating that into a deliverable. That's kind of like the challenge where I'm facing right now. So last week was definitely a little bit tougher, or like this week, I guess. But overall, I feel comfortable in the overall structure of my job, like my responsibilities. And it's going to take some time, but my goal is by the end of this week to finish another reconciliation process, which essentially is like verifying the like tax expenses of um, a specific property. And so yeah, the one I was working prior, there was some errors within the system, so we're moving on to another one. And my goal is to show this to my manager to demonstrate that I know what I'm talking about and to show value. Because yeah, it's a public company currently that I'm working for, and I think it's very competitive. Just being frankly honest, and this is my livelihood, and so right now I feel like the studying has taken a back seat and I'm just focusing on how I could survive and absorb as much as possible because yeah, it's a good opportunity. I prayed for, God to put food on my plate, and now that I've received a lot, now I have to be okay with some of the challenges. It's not also like the thing about competition is like there is no end. There is like the speed limit is only confined by you. Like you are the biggest limiter because I see just going to UCLA and being exposed to what great looks like. I am not in terms of like intelligence the most smartest, like the smartest person in the room, but I'd like to think that I could endure pain, and that's not necessarily a good thing because obviously you need to be smart, and you could if technically if you get a job done within 1 hour and then it takes me 4 hours, yeah, I endured the pain, but like that it's no duh the first person is gonna be picked, so that's where I have to get better at. Other than that, the other class started. It's about like it's an accounting ethics class, so um, that's been moving along. Other than that, I figured out that it's been 2 months since I've had my shin splints, and it turns out I think I have a stress fracture. And living in America, healthcare is very expensive, so I was very hesitant. But this is something I like have to like take into consideration. So I think I have insurance from company, so I plan on going to get an X-ray done because I have a race coming up for February, which is the Kyoto Marathon. So my life currently is revolving just around work, running, and studying. And so I think last episode I was mentioning about some of the loneliness aspect, but I think as long as I reframe that this is a season of life where that is expected of me and that I have to just adapt to it, reflect on my mortality of like, if I died today, would I be happy for, um, the kind of the journey that I'm on, that I've defined? what type of values am I living by. Obviously, like I think comparison is something like good and bad for me, because sometimes I see the outcome of the competition and I want to compete, but also I see like I've opted out. Like there's been times I've relapsed to negative habits, like just doom scrolling for like 4 or 5 hours, because it's like, oh, it's too much, you know. And I'm a sinful man, and that's something I'm, always working on, I think. But yeah, overall, I think this week was just more focused on work per se, and yeah, on the acquisition aspect, I that's another thing I have to allocate more time to. So that's why I'm emphasizing efficiency. So going in for this week, I'm looking forward to getting better with the process for work, and then also allocating more time, because I think I logged maybe 2 hours of like deep study, but that's not gonna be enough, especially if I want to, pass this exam by next year. So yeah. Other than that, I also want to get better into writing, because writing helps synthesize my thoughts, and that has been a habit where I'm able to articulate myself better and self-expression. So yeah, I mean, because I'm not socializing as much outside of work, I think some of that interpersonal skills has maybe taken a little backseat as well. So I want to make sure I, you know, like journal more, or do more of like copywriting of things I've learned working in corporate, but also just perspectives, like things on money, relationships, spirituality, anything regarding self development, because I think I've learned a thing or two, and I think it could be useful just to have that in documentation for someone who's younger, but also to like solidify what I've learned, because the best way to learn something is if you could demonstrate that. But yeah, with that stated, thanks for tuning in. Let me know in the comments of what you'd like to hear more of, or how your week went. I really do appreciate those comments, because I know I'm not alone, but sometimes on our daily lives it just feels like you're alone, but you're not. And that matters. That's why social support, I think, really matters. There's this thing that psychologists talk about, which is like post traumatic growth, where people who have experienced growth after trauma, um, a lot of them were able to do so because they had people who could resonate with them, and just being there. I think that's why relationships are important. God even talks about, like in the Bible, of repeat, like in this, like when you're eating a bread, like in remembrance of me, and the wine, right? Of like, you need to have that, like, do this in remembrance, meaning like do this continuously. So the game changer for me has been after Saturday, like on Saturday, I do a long run, and then afterwards I've it's my best friend Ming, and we usually eat together, and that has been such great joy, and I really do look forward to it. And I know, like my generation and low, like even the young ones with social media, I for sure feed into it, but it's important to disconnect and really just think for yourself. Remind yourself of like wisdoms through books, because I am constantly reminded of like the short-term pleasure versus long-term pleasure, or long-term, I guess, yeah, long-term pleasures. The word pleasure doesn't sound right for long term. It's just more so like delayed gratification, because that's how you build character. That's how you appreciate things more. But yeah, now I'm just rambling. But that was my week. Yeah, I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Bye bye.